in size with nearly double the amount of meat. Now, if your first instinct hearing this was, yeah, duh, it's an ad, you'd be on the same page as most other judges that have thrown out similar pieces over the years. I mean, what are Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's supposed to do? Use their real burgers for ads? No one would ever go back. But what makes this lawsuit notable is that the judge presiding over the case has decided that the claims might actually have some merit. Instead of throwing the case out like so many others have done, the judge is having it his way and making the king stand trial and defend his burger. So today, I want to look into whether or not his monarchy will crumble. Does it actually look like BK broke the law, or is this lawsuit just a greasy, fast food, fast cash grab? Like I mentioned, BK isn't the only fast food or fast casual establishment that's been hit with a lawsuit alleging deception. In May 2022, a man filed a lawsuit against McDonald's and Wendy's for unfair and deceptive practices due to false advertising in their ads and on their menus. The burgers, he claimed, were the most egregious, and accused Wendy and Ronald of undercooking their meat to make them appear 15 to 20% larger than the beef patties that were actually served to customers, since the fully cooked patties tend to shrink and look less appetizing. Likewise, Taco Bell was hit with a lawsuit by a guy claiming that they used double the meat in their photos and commercials during 2023, when certain ingredients, like meat, were struck by inflation, causing prices to go up, and customers to look to Taco Bell for a cheaper alternative. But the Mexican pizzas, Crunchwrap Supremes, and various other menu items appeared to have significantly less meat, beans, and other fixins than they do in the ad. Starbucks was accused of skimping on fruit ingredients in their refreshers. Buffalo Wild Wings was accused of not using meat from a chicken's actual wing in their boneless buffalo wings. Subway was accused of using 200% less meat in their IRL sandwiches, and the list goes on. Oftentimes, like in the cases of McDonald's and Wendy's, the judge will throw out the case, citing that the reasonable, average customer would most likely not be misled by advertising, and that the images of food put forth by these chains were no different than other companies' use of visually appealing images to foster positive association with their products. Translation: everybody exaggerates their product in ads, and most people know that. But the lawsuits against BK and Starbucks were allowed by judges to move forward, denying the respective establishments' motions to dismiss their trial. In the case of Starbucks, the judge determined that a significant portion of reasonable consumers would assume that all of their refreshers contained real fruit based on their menu signs and advertisements. And it seems that the judge facing down the Burger King is heading down the same road. The lawsuits against B-Dubs and Subway are still pending, but if Burger King and Starbucks are found guilty of deceiving their customers, we might start seeing a shift in how these false advertisement cases are handled. So what exactly is the line between deception and reasonable exaggeration? At what point does an appetizing advertisement become a straight-up lie? And what are the parameters already in place to prevent these companies from going too far? To start answering some of these questions, it's helpful to understand the history of staging food for consumers' eyes. In the 1930s, color film photography allowed food to be captured realistically, almost exactly as it appeared to the naked eye. Advertisers started using color around this time in images of their products, and cookbooks began implementing colorful images into the pages of their recipes, bringing dishes to life that were formerly dull in black and white. Commercial food photography blossomed as a new career path, and companies found that their goods sold better when their customers could actually visualize what an all-American Thanksgiving dinner would look like. But it didn't take long for advertisers to realize that they could exaggerate a little bit to get consumers even more excited about their product. Food and beverage brands began implementing behind-the-scenes tricks to get the food in their images to look even better than the real thing, like swapping out melty scoops of ice cream in a dish for a thick hunk of mashed potatoes. Under a photographer's hot lights, cold food would melt, lettuce would wilt, and hot food would lose its juicy, steamy sheen. So they improvised. Oil was painted onto dry food to make it look fresher, and hairspray or deodorant was applied when a more matte look was needed. Honestly, all the tricks used in food photography are astounding. It's actually a really cool art. Ironically, although it was initially invented to accurately capture an image of real life, these development ultimately led to less of an interest in realistic, authentic depictions of food. A homemade hamburger just wasn't as appealing to look at as a burger expertly crafted by an art director, and consumers consumers started gravitating to brands that showcased their food in an idealized way, the way folks wanted their food to look like, even if it wasn't true to life. This shift completely changed the way humans engaged with the meals they ate. It was no longer enough to simply taste the delicious meal. People wanted to savor these dishes with their eyes, too. Chefs began to consider the preparations of their meal as seriously as they considered the flavors, learning to create visually appealing plates that were a feast for both the eyes and the stomach. Food stylists likewise began to experiment with different props, backgrounds, and lighting to enhance and highlight different colors and textures. Food photos were staged to tell a story about the preparation, origin, and cultural significance of their subject, allowing consumers to immerse themselves fully in the dining experience. Brands today are still using these exact same techniques, but advancements in technology have only expanded their playing field.
I wanted to try out a new recipe, but personally I'm not the best at it. That's when I decided to work with Copilot and OneNote to help simplify. I highlighted the ingredients from the recipe right in my notes. Copilot was then able to turn them into a clear step-by-step checklist. Once I had everything laid out, I clicked keep it and my list was saved and ready to use. No more jotting things down on paper or second-guessing what I've already prepped. Using Copilot made a new recipe much easier and actually kind of fun.
You killed that young pup.
Why are you doing this up?
Because you're him.
Go and die.
You would only sleep.
Playing field. Once upon a time, it was enough to sell an ice-cold bottle of Coca-Cola in a flat, black and white image. Now, Coke has a CGI polar bear and a bright red Christmas sweater convincing you to drink a glass. Today, many companies have a strict policy of only allowing real, edible food in their ads, which means that mashed potato ice cream is fair game. But that isn't always the case, and even modern food stylists have admitted to using non-food enhancements to make their dishes pop in photos and commercials. Need to make a stack of buttermilk pancakes look extra rich and syrupy? Try dousing them in engine oil. Has the skin of your Thanksgiving turkey started to dry out after the third day of shooting? Slap a coat of wood varnish on there to make it look moist and golden brown again. Cereal looking soggy after soaking in milk? Replace that milk with an inedible combination of water and PVC glue to keep your Cheerios looking fresh on film. Then there's all the sneaky props used in staging to make the food appear flawless. If you've ever wondered why the burgers you grill at home look lackluster, it's probably because you're not wedging pieces of cardboard or chunks of a makeup sponge between toppings to make them look less droopy. You're also probably not painstakingly gluing the perfect amount of sesame seeds to the top of your bun, nor are you using a blowtorch on the edges of the cheese to get that perfect melt. Some food stylists even choose to undercook the burger meat to make it look bigger and fresher, and others might soak the meat in oil to make it look like it's dripping in savory juices. And the list goes on. Legally, there is a limit to how much brands and advertisers are allowed to blur the line between real food that's been expertly styled and a Franken-meal presented as an edible dish. Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act prohibits unfair or deceptive acts or practices. And in the case of food products, any false advertisement that is misleading in a material respect. Likewise, the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits any labeling that is false or misleading in any particular way, which basically means that food manufacturers have to list the actual ingredients used and cannot make false claims about their food that have no basis in reality. For example, you can't lie and say that your cookies have less calories or sugar than they actually do just to sell them. You have to list the accurate calorie count and amount of sugar used. And the same legally goes for fast food restaurant advertisements, menu boards, and commercials. You can't trick diners into ordering a meal based on an image of a food item that doesn't exist in real life, which is why Burger King could be in hot water if these lawsuit claims are true. As consumers, we're expected to understand that any product is going to look a little better in an ad than it does in in real life. But that line isn't always clear. It isn't always obvious when an advertisement is lying. Most of us aren't carrying around a scale to make sure our drive-thru burger weighs exactly a quarter pound. According to the King, all their Whoppers are 4-ounce patties served on 5-inch sesame seed bun. Using the bun as a baseline, we can attempt to estimate just how much bigger the advertised burgers appear to be against the IRL burgers served. In this ad, the patty advertised has a diameter of about 6 inches. Just look at how the meat hangs out over the bun. This means that the area of the patty being advertised is roughly 28.27 square inches. Now, let's pull up some of the IRL burgers in question here. First, we have this burger, which looks to have a 4.5-inch diameter, making its estimated area about 15.9 inches square. That means that the advertised burger is around 78% bigger than the real one. When it comes to volume, the difference is even more insane. Taking just the volume of the patty, the advertised patty is about 237% bigger. And let's face it, volume of the whole burger doesn't matter as much as the meat. Then we have this Whopper, which has a 4.25-inch diameter, making its estimated area about 14.19 inches, which means the advertised burger is 99% bigger in area and 457 times bigger in volume than the IRL one. Exactly, or way more than what the lawsuit is claiming. If the 19 accusers bring forth similarly damning evidence to court, Burger King could potentially be found guilty of lying to make sales. So just how much hot French fry oil is the BK Lounge actually in? Violating the FTC Act is punishable by a civil penalty. And through the Penalty Offense Authority, the commission is allowed to seek those penalties if it can prove that the King knew his advertisements were unfair and deceptive. That civil penalty, up to $50,000 per violation. That amount adjusts every year to reflect inflation, so they're looking at a maximum fine of close to $1 million paid to the FTC. The commission's goal is to send a clear message that preying on consumers will not be profitable. As far as the civil suit goes, if Burger King is penalized by the FTC, it's likely they'd have to settle with the plaintiffs for an agreed upon amount. We won't know any exact figures unless the involved parties choose to disclose them after the trial, but an interesting possibility also lies ahead for the rest of us. In past civil lawsuit cases against unfair and deceptive practices in food advertisements, all affected customers, not just the plaintiffs who brought forth the case, were also given a small retribution payment. For example, a woman sued Jimmy John's for falsely advertising the inclusion of alfalfa sprouts on her favorite sandwich. Although Jimmy John's ultimately denied the allegations, they still agreed to settle with the plaintiff, as well as provide vouchers to all customers who dined there between February 1st, 2012 and July 21st, 2014. Those vouchers were only worth $1.40 off your next properly sprouted sandwich, but hey, it's better than nothing. In the end, if the FTC finds the King guilty, or if they decide to make a settlement, all of us Whopper enthusiasts might benefit, even if it's only a few bucks. But all those dollars and cents will eventually add up. Burger King estimates that over 1.3 billion Whoppers are sold each year worldwide, and 41 Whoppers are eaten around the world every second. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many of those billions of burgers are devoured specifically in the United States, where this lawsuit is taking place, but I'd guess it's a pretty high number, considering the fact that the King raked in $1.3 billion in revenue in the US in 2023 alone. Now, if history shows us anything, it's that the lawsuit won't go to trial for BK to lose and the entire industry to be altered forever because of the Whopper. It'll most likely be settled out of court for millions, people will be paid off, and that'll be that. Even in that case, though, it sets the precedent for a lot more legal scrutiny with all these too good to be true advertisements, with puffery or exaggeration that no reasonable customer takes literally, like the world's best or world famous, having to be decreased significantly by fast food companies across the board so they don't become the next target. So will we and the 19 civil suit plaintiffs get rich overnight thanks to underwhelming Whoppers? Probably not. But the kingdom might have a few less treasure chests when all of this is over, and we might even start seeing ads that suddenly don't look quite as appetizing as they used to. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Buen provecho.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you right here in America. And now we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder.
Get 0% APR for 60 months on Rogue or Pathfinder.
You here for the bone or the chicken Milanese?
Hi everybody, it's Bobby Flay, and welcome to Pet Smart Kitchen. I'm here with Canelo, and he's in my arugula. Anyway, how I make chicken Milanese, one of my favorite things to eat at home, and we're gonna talk made by Nacho, because that's what he's eating. So we have chicken cutlet here, and you're building like a salad on top of it. Parmigiano Reggiano, it's got that natural saltiness, olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and there you go. You know, as a chef, I think about flavor, texture, aroma. That's the same way I think about made by Nacho.
Do you know that right now you can get McDonald's for life? Yeah, you heard me. A lifelong opportunity to stuff your face full of chicken McNuggets like it's your job. All the fries that you can eat. Ice cream every day. That machine isn't broken. The McDonald's McGold card, which provides you food for life, is awesome. There's just one catch. McDonald's expects you to die real soon. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the only show that never passes up an opportunity to talk about fast food's McDaddy. No one, not even me, is gonna make an argument about the nutritional value of fast food, or whether you should be eating it every day. But there's no denying that the idea of free food for life is just like an ultimate dream goal. Just look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs here. There's literally this bottom tier here, basic needs, upon which everything else is built. And look, sleep, drink, and oh yeah, right in the middle, food. Imagine just being able to knock that one out for the entirety of your life, no matter what happens. Losing your job, losing all your money, but knowing that food was always going to be that would be an incredible peace of mind for the entirety of your life. That's pretty amazing. And it can be achieved with one little piece of plastic, the McDonald's McGold card. Believe it or not, this is a real thing. About a month ago, I was making headlines because for one of the first and only times ever, McDonald's was planning to give one of these puppies away. You see, as part of their Season of Sharing event, I don't know who they're trying to be. That sort of stuff. McDonald's has given lucky winners a chance to get a McGold card. Not just for themselves either, but for 3 of their friends as well. That's right, pass the prize. Your old theorist crew could be sharing in this greasy victory. However, that's not the theorist my enthusiasm shifts to skepticism. Since whenever you're offered something that sounds too good to be true, whether it's shoes that magically lose weight for you or the golf club that doubles as a porta potty, there's gotta be a catch, right? If I land this magical McGold card, what am I really getting myself into? And what's the fine print on lifetime promotions like this? Well, friends, we took a hard look at this ultimate McPrize and found that the McGold card is actually a little bit more sussy than saucy. To start, for people like me who even doubted that these sorts of things existed, there is in fact a McDonald's for life card, known simply as the McGold card. But the surprising thing about it is that this is nothing new for McDonald's. Turns out the OG of cheap cheeseburgers has been secretly doling out these babies since the restaurant's founding. In fact, it seems like most fast casual chains like Chipotle or even Burger King have been known to send these things out from time to time. Rumor has it that David Dobrik has himself a Chipotle celebrity card and has been able to partner with the Burrito Baron to give to one fan. That being said, I'm focused on McDonald's today because it's one of the oldest, which matters when you're talking about a lifetime prize. It's also by far the most mysterious, even being referred to as an ancient secret in the promotional marketing. As a sad non-recipient to one of these beauties, I first started looking into who actually has these to get a sense of who makes the cuts. And of course, who would be more deserving of free food for life cards than the richest people in the world. I am so glad that those billionaires are getting a little leg up to afford their latest McGriddle. The world is so broken. You can see what I mean. The first official McGold card was gifted to the mayor of St. Louis back in 1965 as part of a ceremony unveiling the Gateway Arch. Since then, the exclusive McGold Club has initiated the likes of Bill Gates, Rob Lowe, Warren Buffett, even the King of Sweden has supposedly gotten his royal hands on one of these. Eat your heart out, Burger King. The true king has spoken, and apparently he's loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ray Kroc, McDonald's founder, was willing to informally gift these to folks from time to time. And because these cards, which were originally known as Be Our Guest cards, have been trickled out over the course of decades, almost no 2 cards look the same. Some, like Warren Buffett's card, only work in Omaha, Nebraska, while others, like George Romney, that's a politician Mitt Romney's dad, they work all around the world. With the McGold card being anything but uniform, it's hard to say which celebrity got themselves the best deal, or whether the one advertised in this 2022 promotion is standard in any way, shape, or form, but it is the closest one to my grasp, so that's the one I'm going to be focused on today.
Everything is really getting more expensive.
Prices are up, but not in Metro. We've lowered prices. One line of unlimited 5G, now $40, period. And a free 5G.
everybody else. The way this particular contest worked was that in the lead up to Christmas of this year, you could enter to win the card if you were a US resident 16 years of age and older. But what exactly was it that you were winning? Like, sure, it says McDonald's for life, but what does that translate to? Well, according to the definition of the McGold card and the fine print of the sweepstakes, what you're winning is essentially gift cards that are good for a total of $1,040 per year for the next 50 years. So to start off, immediately you can see from this one line alone that the card is far from unlimited in both money and time. Let's look at the biggest picture first, the time you're actually around to use this card. McDonald's is hoping you enjoy your food for life, but they're kind of expecting you to not live that long. The minimum age to enter the sweepstakes is 16, and the card expires after 50 years, meaning that a lifetime to McDonald's involves keeling over at the age of 66, presumably from eating McDonald's every day for 50 years. It's not exactly a huge vote of confidence, Mickey D's, that in 2022 you consider a whole lifetime to be less than retirement age, and almost 3 decades below the national average life expectancy of 79. Interestingly, in 1955, when McDonald's was founded, the average life expectancy was only 67 in the US. So I guess they were much closer to the mark back then. But that's not the only thing that's living in the past with this promotion. Let's look at the cold hard money involved, which translates to those cold hard burgers. $1,040 per year gifted to you as part of this McGold card sounds pretty decent, right? And it's certainly a lot of nugs to stuff into my mug, but let's just look a little more closely. This amount actually nets out to $20 per week, or only about $2.85 a day. Looking at the McDonald's menu with average pricing in US dollars, you can see that most items cost more than $2.85, and none of the prices include tax. Theoretically speaking, you can get one individual, very simple sandwich a day, or an individual order of fries, but not both. And you're definitely not dipping into any kind of specialty sandwich, nothing with double, deluxe, or meal in the name. And almost none of the breakfast biscuits, hotcakes, or desserts, except for the plain cone, which ironically you won't be able to get to anyway because the ice cream machine is gonna be broken. If you're speaking about pure calories, the most that you can order per day is the sausage egg McMuffin, a steal at $2.50 for 480 calories. Or if you don't care about skipping straight to dessert, you can get a chocolate milkshake for $2.79, net you a whopping 520 calories. Though you might have to carry a couple extra cents for tax depending on what state you're in. There's probably a theory to be had in here somewhere about whether a human can survive on a single McDonald's milkshake and free water from the drink fountain every day, but you can imagine that even if it's possible, it's gonna get pretty grisly. And over the course of 50 years, you're looking at a health disaster. Luckily, I don't have to run those unpleasant numbers because there's more red tape with the McGold card. See, you can't use this card at McDonald's every day. At the risk of adding salt to the wound, I should probably clarify that that $1,040 that you're being given per year is only expected to be used on a maximum of 2 meals every week. In an oddly ironic twist, even McDonald's doesn't want you eating McDonald's every day. So essentially, you're taking that $20 per week and you're either getting it all at once or you're splitting it across 2 visits. McDonald's doesn't clearly define what constitutes a meal in their legal language, so presumably that doesn't mean that you have to order a pre-designated meal from the menu as long as they were purchased at the same time and presumably eaten together. So since we no longer have to stick to our ceiling of $2.84 per day, how do we maximize the bang for our buck based on the most calorically efficient items on the whole menu? For the sake of consistency, let's say we're going one time a week and using as much of the $20 from that week as possible to purchase as many calories as we can. How do I make the most out of my McGold card? Ironically, it's not the burgers or the fries that I'm gonna be heading for, it's actually the breakfasts. That's right, among the most calorie-dense items on the menu are the hotcakes breakfasts, clocking in at the astounding 1,350 calories for a little over $5. Second place is the McChicken, not because it has more calories than other sandwiches, but because it's so inexpensive at a mere $1.79. Rounding out to top 3 is a sausage and egg McMuffin, which is a great buy at $2.50 for almost 500 calories. So strategically, we should be buying as many hotcakes breakfasts as we can, with whatever change is left over being put towards McChickens or biscuits to maximize our calories and minimize the money we leave behind. With that very clear path forward, all we need is some simple math. With $20, we can buy 3.5 hotcakes breakfasts. Since we can't have fractional purchases, what this means is that we spend $17 $2.37 on hotcakes, and the remaining $2.63 on the sausage and egg biscuit for $2.50. With only 13 cents left over, we've managed to buy 4,530 calories per week. This is about 236,000 calories per year in free McDonald's. So what's that translate to for real people? Like, is this enough to keep us going? Humans on a 2,000 calorie per day diet would get enough calories for 117 days a year from their McGold card, leaving 248 days a year, more than half the year, with nothing. Across the entire lifetime of the card, the winner would only receive enough calories to live for about 16 years, not 50. So this card might advertise itself as McDonald's for life, but it's more like McDonald's for your midlife crisis. And then there's the other elephant in the room. The thing that really kills this card, and the one thing that no one considers when they see the promise of a lifetime of McFlurries. You see, they may promise you the same amount of money on your McGold card each year for 50 years, but they don't guarantee the food you can buy with it. Friends, the days of 50-cent hamburgers are over. Value menus are dying. The Big Mac now costs over 11 times what it did when it came out because of one big McGold card-killing word, inflation. Over the last 22 years, the Big Mac has experienced an annual price increase of roughly 3.9%, starting at 45 cents to now costing $5.15. That is a total increase of 1,044%, which is a combination of pure inflation plus increased costs of labor and food over time. Over the next 50 years, those burgers are gonna be getting more expensive, but your McGold card won't be matching it for sure. We all felt in 2022 when inflation was over 8% in a single year. The buying power of that McGold card is gonna go down over the years, possibly having a 1/10 of the buying power it has today by the end of its term in 2072. To really show you what this all means, today a Big Mac meal containing the burger along with a medium fries and a drink costs $8.39 at my local McDonald's. But if its trends persist in 50 years, I'll likely be paying closer to $56.82. In 50 years, the McGold card, according to how it's marketed today, will be able to buy you less than 19 meals per year. Not even enough for one meal every 2 weeks, let alone 2 meals every 1 week. That's a far cry from what's being promised. And here's the thing, friends, McDonald's has also been around the block for the last 50 years. Presumably, they know what happens to prices over time, but they may be banking on the fact that people entering the sweepstakes in their teens and 20s aren't as savvy. So, is there any way to beat the system and make the prize worthwhile?
Introducing the GMC Canyon AT4X.
Get 3.4% APR on 2025 GMC Canyon models. See your Southern California GMC dealers.
When you've got multiple parts, but need just one answer?
Wait, how do these things work together?
Looks like you can just ask Google.
Prize worthwhile? Well, yes. There is another way to use your McGold card if you really look at the fine print. And that might be your only pathway to a victory that doesn't involve heart disease or losing out on a lot of food because of inflation. You see, McDonald's advertises one prize here, but they're actually offering you two. If you look at the section from the official rules titled Prizes, you'll notice that there's an alternate prize that's being offered. A McGold card with a value of $1,040 for 1 year and a check for the remaining $50,960. This is actually the real jackpot in this game. Instead of watching your money buy less and less hamburger for the next 50 years, you can actually cook up something better. You can invest. This option to take the cash now, all up front, is the infinitely better prize in this situation. You claim your winnings while they still have their promised value, and then you do the very uncool thing of actually investing it. Not in stuff like Burger Coin or an NFT of Ronald McDonald or anything like that, but you know, like real investments. Yeah, it's true, you won't be able to flash your McDonald's McGold card around except for that first year, so the cloud of saying, I get free McDonald's for life is lost, I guess. But the fact of the matter is you never had that much free McDonald's in the first place. And McDonald's, being the smart, responsible company they are and not a YouTuber giving away Lamborghinis, also has included tax on the amount built into your prize. So you get an extra almost $20,000 just to make sure you can pay your taxes on that $50,000 cash prize. So when they say that you get to keep 50 grand, you actually get to keep 50 grand. And what happens to that after 50 years? Well, at a tiny appreciation rate of 3%, just keeping up with inflation, your $50,000 would become $219,000, which is a whole lot of milkshake. At a moderate and completely doable 6% gain per year, after 50 years, your investment would be $921,000, just under $1 million, all because you decided not to buy a few hotcakes a week. So hey, maybe the prize McDonald's is giving away is pretty good after all, as long as you don't use it to buy hamburgers. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Oh, sorry guys, I am losing my voice. Hey, head editor Dan, can you take the end card for me? I'm kind of losing my voice here. It's for our sponsor, Ritual. I've got it written and everything. All you have to do is read it.
Sure, man. Yeah, I gotcha. Just rest your little voice.
Oh my gosh, you are a lifesaver, Dan. Just one thing, make sure you stick as word to word as possible. I already got it approved by the brand, and if we start mixing things up now, we'll have to get it reapproved, and then Jason will be mad at us, and you know how Jason gets.
No problem, boss. But hey, while we're speaking of investments you can make in the new year thanks to your McGold card, you know the most valuable investment you can make? Into your own health, thanks to our sponsor for today's episode, Ritual. And by I mean Matt, I'm just serving as the voice for his words here, don't get a lot of nutrients in my day-to-day life. I eat way too much fast food, which means my diet is lacking in all the stuff that's going to keep my body healthy through the cold winter months. Luckily, I've made Ritual's Essential for Men multivitamin a part of my morning routine. It has 10 high-quality nutrients like vitamin A, D, omega-3, and zinc that are difficult for men to get from your diet alone. But I've talked about that on this channel before. What I haven't talked about is their probiotic Symbiotic Plus, a daily 3-in-1 prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplement designed to support gut, digestive, and immune health. And Ritual's Symbiotic Plus is science-backed, research-stacked. The probiotic supports the growth and activity of beneficial bacteria living in the gut. The probiotics are live microorganisms included to relieve bloating, gas, and mild diarrhea. And the postbiotic provides fuel to the cells that make up the gut lining and supports gut barrier function. And did I mention that the capsules have a slight minty taste to them? In short, Ritual made leveling up my gut game easy, with subscriptions being delivered to my door monthly with free shipping. And they do transparency right. I know I can expect to receive a card explaining where every labeled ingredient comes from and why it's there. In fact, Ritual is so confident with their product that they're offering 30% off your first month using code FOOD30. That's 30% off your first month just by going to ritual.com/food30 or using the link in the description and entering code FOOD30 at checkout. Make your gut health be made simple with Ritual. I'm going back to the editor dungeon. I'll see you next week.
Back by popular demand, grilled barbecue ribs. A half rack of Duroc pork ribs, grilled to perfection and slathered in a rich barbecue sauce. Comes with 2 scratch-made sides and grilled rustic bread. Order today at Urban Plates.
And all I wanted was a screenshot of his avatar, but that's crazy. Hello.
Watching this channel for a while now, you already know that we're pretty much the king of uncovering shady mysteries lurking underneath McDonald's golden arches. If you're new here, well, then this is the beginning of a beautiful rabbit hole all about broken ice cream machines, mystery meat McNuggets, and the fact that McDonald's real business isn't even selling food. Today's iteration of our McSeries, though, is all about how this corporate superpower is at the dawn of another market-defining play for global McDomination. But this time, they're not using Grimace shakes or chicken nuggies to take over the planet. They're using you.
Wow.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the channel that compiles the supersized lies behind supersized fries. Today we're talking about the new mysterious McDonald's restaurant that I've been seeing all over news stories and on Twitter for the last couple of weeks, Cosmic. This thing just launched its first pilot restaurant outside of Chicago. You'd think that a restaurant chain, a restaurant behemoth for that matter, as successful as McDonald's with tens of thousands of global locations, couldn't possibly need a whole new restaurant, especially one with a mascot that looks like this guy. uncanny, isn't he? Like some sort of Captain EO creepypasta, a creepy McPasta. What could possibly have inspired this bizarre business decision to open up a whole new restaurant chain with this unbelievably uncomfortable mascot? Well, as ridiculous as it might sound, I'm gonna show you how this might be one of McDonald's most clever and strategic business decisions in years. Where to start? Well, since I'm not in the Chicago area at the moment to test out a lot of menu items, and most of you watching aren't either, we'll just start answering questions with the info that we have from the internet, which surprisingly is a lot. The first big question that came into my mind when I saw the announcement for Cosmic was, how is this different than a regular McDonald's? And the short answer is, less food, more drinks. While McDonald's lords over the fast food market, Cosmic's is gunning for the fast beverage market, producing a slate of complex drinks like tropical spiceade with pre-workout, churro-flavored frappes, blueberry ginger boost with boba popping bubbles. These aren't your dad's cup of joe, my friends. These are
so
colorful,
cute.
customizable drinks that are designed to have in-your-face flavors and enough caffeine and sugar to take your bloodstream on the ride of its life.
Hon, I need to find it first, though.
Patrons are encouraged to mix and match syrups, energy shots, and toppings into the drinks to make each sip a unique and oh-so-shareable experience for your Insta stories. Basically, Cosmix is like letting the Coca-Cola freestyle machine go Super Saiyan. On the other hand, its food selection seems less thought out. Or, let me correct that, thought out just enough to rip off the menu from Starbucks. Have you ever bought a mediocre Starbucks breakfast sandwich? Well, good news, you can now buy a mediocre breakfast sandwich at Cosmic. Prefer a Starbucks pastry? Try the Cosmic McPops, or the brownies, or the cookies. These point directly to the competitor that Cosmix most wants to take a bite out of, Starbucks. McDonald's president Chris Kempczinski has publicly stated that the fast beverage space is one McDonald's has the right to win, whatever that means. So this year is gearing up to be a real showdown. And by showdown, I mean we're about to see two mega corporate entities that no one's really rooting for duke it out for their right to hawk us a bunch of pink drinks filled with caffeine. Doesn't that sound exciting? But how big are the stakes here? Like, what do they win besides prime real estate and airport terminals? Well, it turns out beverages are one grande market, my friends. According to McDonald's calculations, the fast beverage space is a category that's growing faster than all other sectors of casual dining, and it's worth roughly $100 billion a year. This is because syrupy, caffeinated drinks have high demand and even higher margin. A study by NYU Stern School of Business estimates that these soft drinks have around 53% gross margins. That means that for every dollar that McDonald's spends on ingredients for a soda, they're making $1.53 back in revenue. Coffee and tea items can be even higher, with analysts estimating that efficiently priced coffee margins can go as high as 70 or even 85%. And McDonald's sees that golden coffee money right at their fingertips. After all, they're no stranger to the coffee game. They're consistently one of the top-selling brands, with their McCafés pulling in an estimated $1 million a day in US coffee sales. Outside the US, McCafé's an even bigger deal, where it has standalone buildings just like Starbucks, including about 3,000 standalone locations in Europe.
Come here.
Alone. So why then start a whole new franchise with Cosmic? You already have a coffee shop. Well, to understand why McDonald's can't do this in the US, we have to learn a little bit about marketing strategy. In marketing, you have brands, right? A name, a logo, some adjectives that come to mind when you think of them. But when a brand gets very big, like McDonald's, sometimes you want to create something new, but you don't want to risk hurting what you already got going. You don't want to ruin one big brand with one small experiment. So what do? You create a sub-brand. Sub-branding is when a well-known business creates a secondary brand with a different voice and identity in order to target a specific niche or a new target demographic without diluting the parent brand. Hotels, great examples of this. Take Wyndham Hotels, for instance. Wyndham is a nice hotel brand. They're often associated with very nice amenities, great locations, some high-end.
Yo, guard. Come here.
Run.
Skedaddle. Come here.
What is, bro?
I'm just gonna keep
resorts like the Wyndham Grand, but Wyndham also owns the brand La Quinta, which is a mid-level hotel for people just passing through for a night stopover who need some amenities but not all the bells and whistles. Wyndham also owns Super 8 and Travelodge, which are considered to be economy hotels with almost no frills or special amenities. I say Wyndham, you think, hey, that's a really nice hotel brand. Even though they own much lower-end properties, their main high-end brand is never diluted. Sub-brands get to benefit from the parent brand's reputation, like, oh, Super 8's owned by Wyndham? That's a nice brand. And they can also use that to get themselves a leg up. They're basically the branding equivalent of Nepo babies. But okay, if Cosmic and McCafe are both McDonald's sub-brands, why pick one over the other? Well, taking a closer look showed me that they're not as similar as I originally thought.
University of Maryland Global Campus isn't just an innovative state school. It's a school for real life, one that values the successes you've already achieved. That's why at UMGC, you can earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and life and job experience.
Come here.
Why we offer scholarships and affordable tuition, and why we have online classes and the support you need from your first day to graduation.
Cosmic and McCafe are both McDonald's sub-brands, why pick one over the other? Well, taking a closer look showed me that they're not as similar as I originally thought. McCafe and Cosmic each focus on a specific niche, but not the same one. Both Cosmics and McCafe are targeting the coffee niche, but on different ends. The McCafe and its breakfast menu was introduced to the United States in 2001 as a means of targeting the morning rush, giving McDonald's a reason to open earlier and hit all 3 major meals of the day. Cosmics, on the other hand, is being touted as McDonald's answer to the 3 p.m. slump, aka right around the time I reach for a refill of Diet Coke every day. Snacking and caffeine is a way many of us combat hitting a wall in the afternoon, so McDonald's has identified us as a market it can capitalize on. With teens rushing out of school and exhausted adults looking for a fix to help them push through the end of the workday, McDonald's hopes that Cosmics can secure the corner on that afternoon snacking market. But couldn't Cafe also serve the same market? It's not like other cafes struggle at 3 p.m. Starbucks doesn't need to become midday bucks just to sell lattes in the afternoon. Well, at first, that's what McDonald's thought too. These were likely supposed to be the same restaurant. Early last year, blogs were sharing leaks about McDonald's plan to build standalone McCafe spin-offs called McCafe Corners. When you look at the leaks, it becomes obvious that sometime between February and December of 2023, McDonald's decided to pivot, rebranding McCafe Corners as Cosmics. Not only do both concepts share design plans down to serving midday pick-me-ups, but the leaked assets use some of the same art as the official Cosmics website. This is likely why a majority of the few food options that Cosmics serves come directly from the McCafe breakfast menu. So why make such a big change? Why not just stick with the plan to keep those restaurants the same? Well, it looks like someone at old McDo HQ might have realized that people don't really like McCafe in the US. And for good reason, too. Well, I mentioned that McCafes are big in Europe. McDonald's has struggled to get the brand traction in Ronald's homeland. Sure, they do okay as attachments to burger joints, but they're not seeing standalone McCafes rival Starbucks like they do overseas. Being attached to McDonald's, sure, it might earn you some money, but if you look at the customer and employee reports, it's actively diluting both brands. Looking at samples of McDonald's message boards, you'll find that a common struggle cited by McDonald's employees is the massive size of the menu that they have to serve when they're trying to juggle both a McCafe and a full McDonald's restaurant. Every time McDonald's corporate adds another promotional item to the menu, that's another process that the kitchen's suddenly responsible for incorporating into the workflow. Sometimes it means there's another machine to clean, sometimes it's another item to keep fresh. And when you're trying to do more things at once, you just start naturally cutting corners. This isn't the employee's fault per se, it's just an unmanageable menu for a restaurant that's supposed to produce a ton of food really fast. And it turns out when something had to take a hit, it was the less popular McCafe items that saw the biggest dip in quality, actually leading to McDonald's discontinuing a handful of their bakery items. So when it comes to really making a play at the coffee space, just tacking a ton of extra menu items onto a pre-existing McDonald's, it isn't gonna work, and it hasn't worked for McCafe, which continues to lose traction to Starbucks. So what should they do instead? The answer is split the brand in half. Shed the reputation that McCafe has in the US, which is that it produces kind of mediocre pastries and a limited menu, and start the whole thing over again. So, okay, they're gonna try to make this cosmic thing work. Now, in order to make this big beverage venture a success, really coming out of the gate swinging with something that feels new and unexpected, McDonald's chose to partner this launch with a major new mascot, Cosmic. Oh yeah, there he is again. Ronald McDonald might be retired and discarded into the wind, but you know who isn't? Cosmic, a McDonaldland mascot from the 80s who is, and I quote, part alien, part robot, and part surfer. Yeah, really. He originally appeared in the 80s in the McDonald's universe, the Mickoverse, I suppose, where Ronald McDonald was like an active citizen of McDonaldland, which is in fact a canonical place, another theory that we've done in the past. In McDonaldland, Ronald hangs out with the mayor, who is notably not Ronald, despite this being McDonaldland. Instead, the mayor is a literal cheeseburger with legs. Ronald also rubs elbows with the McDonaldland chief of police, Hamburger again, and someone who's only known as the Mad Professor, who has a real head but uses everyone else for his personal science experiments. Maybe that's how the mayor ended up like that, but probably a theory for another day. Put that one on the list for you, Santi. Oh, and of course, the viral milkshake sensation himself, Grimace. Although here, he's not celebrating his birthday yet with any sort of deadly concoction. Cosmic appears in McDonaldland while Ronald and his friends are on a picnic, during which Cosmic tries to con them out of their cheeseburgers. After he fails, he concedes to sharing the burgers and then flies back to his home planet, never to be seen again, Poochie style.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
A strip for every dip. Get 17 grams of protein with Tyson lightly breaded chicken strips.
But wait, there's a new addition to the canon. It turns out that according to newly revealed McLore, Cosmic was off-planet experimenting with the stolen McDonald's menu and serving it to the inhabitants of Cosmic Land this entire time. Yes! This is the story that they've really concocted for this thing. According to his backstory from the McDonald's website, Cosmic has been, quote, experimenting with menu items alongside unique beverages, ones that would not only complement the food, but stand alone as the perfect mood boost for all beings. As the curious creature began slinging these beverages to fellow aliens, it didn't take long before the entire planet wanted more. Fast. There's a lot to unpack in that one. A lot to unsling, if you will. But first, I think the most obvious question here is why? Why bring back a super obscure D-list character out of the woodwork to be a mascot of what's supposed to be a major new chapter in your Mick history? Well, this seems like a pretty bad decision for the head honchos at Mickey D's, and the marketing language sure reads as pretty cringy. This awkward alien is anything but a coincidence. Let me ask you, can you think of any other purple alien-looking McDonald's mascots that have brought in a ton of publicity for the restaurant recently? Anyone who has themselves a penchant for slinging drinks or creating unique beverages, maybe for a celebration, like say a birthday. That's right, Grimace has seen some runaway success in the last year, especially on social platforms like TikTok and YouTube where the youngs are hanging out. His unbelievable internet fame from the past year means that with the right shade of purple and a little bit of insanity, McDonald's can get a ton of attention on TikTok and sell 1 million drinks that, let's face it, didn't taste all that great in the first place. I mean, it did kill me that one time. Then I drank it again and I died in the pool. Yeah, Grimace Shake, not great. But then, why aren't they just using Grimace himself as the mascot for Cosmic? You already have an internet-famous purple blob, why don't you just roll with it, right? Well, there are a couple scraps of evidence that point to the idea that this was actually the plan. The hard proof for this is totally lacking, so full disclosure that this is more of a food hunch than a food theory, but I speculate that Grimace, a mascot that's supposed to be the living embodiment of a milkshake, was originally supposed to be the face of this new brand, which again, is all about interesting and unique drinks. In hindsight, it is crystal clear that to test the waters of a restaurant like Cosmic, McDonald's released a bizarre limited edition drinkable menu item, aka the Grimace Shake, at the regular old McDonald's to see what the buzz looked like last year. And to McDonald's' credit, this experiment 100% worked, and the Grimace Shake took off like a shot. It's no secret that Gen Zers are great at transforming lol random items like a purple milkshake into highly shareable social media content, and they were all over the interwebs with their iconic TikToks tasting that purple drink. And McDonald's knew exactly what they were tapping into here, because they were following on a trend that already existed, where Gen Z just really liked trying weird beverages. A massive 62% of Gen Z tried new exciting beverages in the last month alone, due in part to recent TikTok trends like the viral wild Starbucks flavors or water top. Grimace's birthday celebration was proof that McDonald's could reel in the TikTok generation with bold, quirky flavors. But here's where it gets weird, because of course this TikTok trend didn't stop at just tasting the Grimace Shake, it instead steered hard into creative death sequences that implied that the Grimace Shake isn't just fun and quirky, it'll also kill you on the spot. So my food hunch here is that with the viral trend leading so hard into horror, McDonald's corporate became concerned that any beverage associated with Grimace would now follow a similar dark lore, which definitely wouldn't bode well for a whole bunch of quirky drink items at McCafe corners. So, with mere months to go before the launch of their first outpost, McDonald's had to pivot from Grimace to the next best character, Cosmic. Punches aside, what's clear to me is whether it was supposed to be Grimace or Cosmic, the Grimace-shaped trend of 23 absolutely wrote the playbook that Cosmix is following now, and it all revolves around getting Gen Z to do free marketing on social media. That said, if you're a bit too old to be a Zoomer, don't worry. McDonald's isn't leaving you out of their caffeine-fueled expansion efforts. Instead of counting on your love of TikTok, McDonald's is banking on your nostalgia. Nostalgia drives a huge number of the social media conversations of 80s and 90s kids. While the youth market is being brought in primarily from the exotic flavors, the revival of mascots is how McDonald's is inserting itself into listicles and clickbaiting for millennials and Gen Xers on platforms like Facebook and Twitter. And what is all this social media attention and nostalgia clickbait supposed to do for McDonald's? Well, McDonald's Corporation has a lofty goal of launching 10,000 new global restaurants by 2027, increasing their total number of fast food locations by 20%. So this is big business for them, and a lot of it has to be driven by word of mouth, or rather, word of algorithm on social media. But it's not the last piece of this puzzle. The last interesting twist of the story isn't about Cosmix bringing in a bunch of queens with pink drinks, it's about bringing in a whole new model for the restaurant, automation. You see, Cosmix isn't just a testing ground for new drink flavors or an expansion of McDonald's real estate empire, it's the beginning of the restaurant's partnership with AI. McDonald's just struck a deal with Alphabet to integrate Google AI into their restaurants, joining the ranks of 300 other fast food restaurants who are using AI in their drive-thrus as of August 2023. These partnerships allow customers to have a conversation with an AI voice at a drive-thru instead of with a person, with the computer translating their order and sending it to be made. It's expensive to retrofit an existing restaurant with upgraded tech, but it's less expensive if you're building a brand new restaurant, like, say, Cosmix. And it turns out that the benefits here are big. What does it mean to have AI and automation in your restaurant? Well, you've probably already seen some of it, with McDonald's menus moving to a self-service kiosk when you tap menu items that you want, and you tap a credit card and you wait for your order. You no longer have to give it to a person at a register. These systems allow restaurants to focus workers on the actual food making, maintaining smaller stores, and interestingly enough, it also gets you to spend more. On average, patrons spend 10 to 30% more on digital transactions where they have to enter their order in a kiosk because they have more time to explore the menu. That menu is full of pictures. It also suggests items that you might like to add to your order. Instead of feeling the pressure of people waiting behind you in line or the social anxiety of telling someone face-to-face that, yeah, I do want triple pickles on my Big Mac, you instead just enter the order in the privacy of your own kiosk. It's a way to get you to spend more money without any extra marketing or sales tactics. And this automation also plays into McDonald's 5-year plan to acquire 100 million additional users to its app-based loyalty program, which currently has 150 million users and $20 billion in yearly earnings. And yes, that means that McDonald's is walking around with the personal information, data, and buying behavior of 150 million people right now, which is pretty concerning when you consider the company's looking to double that by 2027, thereby earning $40 billion over the course of the next 3 years. And just in case people don't really want to accept the restaurant's new technology, or God forbid, they feel nervous about this new era of information, Cosmic will be right there by their side to distract them with a drink that looks like they melted a Barbie. In the end, like their expertly blended drinks, Cosmix is the fusion of McDonald's marketing needs. It's poised to capitalize on both Gen Z's TikTok trends and Millennial and Gen X's soft spot for nostalgia, so that the general public slowly acclimates to the company's AI-fueled expansion. Oh, but the drinks are so cute, though! But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory! Bottoms up.
Can I speak to the manager? Hi, my child's health is of the utmost importance. I demand you offer fruit in your Happy Meals.
You got it, ma'am. By chance, does your kid want some McDonald's Monopoly game pieces with that? It's basically legalized gambling.
That would be fine.
Internet. Welcome to Food Theory, the only show that gives you 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a statistical analysis bun. Today we're theorizing about the world's favorite fast food restaurant, and also poor college student Matt Pat's favorite restaurant, period, McDonald's. Now, this isn't the first Food Theory episode to take on Mickey D's, and it's far from the last, because let's face it, from its commercials, to its food, to its history, to its creepy clown mascot who's more recognizable than Jesus Christ, you could say that there's a lot to talk about here.
Who's that?
Don't know. George W. Bush?
No, that's a good guess, though. Who's that?
McDonald.
So with the full menu of McDonald's topics to choose from, today we're chowing down on the business side of things. Because let's face it, McDonald's has been playing the marketing game at another level for decades. Building miniature playgrounds in your stores, genius. No matter how much Lysol you'd have to use to get me to step near one of those things these days. The Happy Meal toys, iconic. Especially if we're talking about those dinosaur ones that turned into the food items. In case you're wondering, by the way, my eBay bid was accepted, and you're looking at the proud new owner of Fry-Ceratops and the rest of the dinosaur changeables gang. Oh, they're so cute! And then there's the granddaddy of them all, the McDonald's promotion that effectively got me addicted to gambling before I knew what probability was, the McDonald's Monopoly game. If you're not familiar, go ahead and crawl out from beneath that rock you've been living under, and then take a seat on said rock and prepare to get learned. The McDonald's Monopoly game is a limited time promotion that usually comes along once a year or so, and gives you little game pieces that you peel off of certain menu items. If you can collect all the pieces of a certain color to make a Monopoly, just like you do in the board game, you win a prize, with Park Place and Boardwalk usually cashing in for a cool $1 million. Anyway, in college and throughout my professional theater career, my friends and cast members and I played McDonald's Monopoly so much that it even started seeping into our everyday speech. Case in point, Baltic Avenue was one of the most common and therefore least valuable pieces of the game. So if both the pieces on your soda or fries were Baltic Avenue, we called it a double Baltic, which we then used to mean anything worthless or disappointing. It can be used in all sorts of situations, by the way. Ugh, they got my order wrong. Double Baltic. Or they're releasing the Snyder Cut, all the Baltics. The dream of one day winning the McDonald's Monopoly game was a big one for me, but now that I'm a little bit older, I recognize that the odds of me winning the $1 million are, well, let's just say pretty double Baltic. And this, of course, got me thinking, what would it actually take to win this thing? Like, how much McDonald's would a person have to buy to guarantee that they have the McDonald's Monopoly grand prize? How much would that sort of thing cost? And most importantly, because we do not waste food in this household, young man, let's assume that you have to eat all of the food that you bought to get the game pieces. How many calories would that be? How much weight you putting on? How supersized are you getting? So hold on to your buns, because we're diving into the economics and gastronomics of McDonald's Monopoly. Now, to start, I should clarify that there isn't one single unified version of the McDonald's Monopoly game. From year to year, the rules change slightly, the odds change slightly, even the menu items that have the game pieces on them change a little bit. Since we can't know for certain what the rules for McDonald's next Monopoly promotion will be, they've teased that it could return in 2021, by the way, that means that we might as well base our calculations off the years whose rules and data are the most complete and readily available to us. Those years happen to be 2014 and 2016. Granted, the data is a few years old, but for our purposes, the game has stayed similar enough over the years that it will be a solid approximation. We're also only considering the American version of McDonald's Monopoly, though the game is offered with different sets of rules and prizes from South Africa to Poland to Hong Kong. Those versions are often a little less dramatic though. For instance, in Canada, the grand prize is $50,000 instead of $1 million. But back to McDonald's, because now it's time to crunch some fries and some numbers. According to Business Insider's coverage of the Monopoly game in the fall of 2014, there were 602,490,060 game pieces in play, each of which consists of 2 stamps, for a grand total of about 1.2 billion chances to win. And I do want to pause here to clarify these terms because they confused me when I first started researching this thing, and we're going to use them a lot.
I need to get my revenge.
Game piece is the term for the entire object this hand is holding. Game pieces are what get slapped onto different McDonald's products, and each individual game piece consists of 2 separate stamps. So you could say that the hand in this picture is holding 1 game piece, or you could say it's holding 2 stamps. Both are correct. You'd also be correct to say that we've completely beaten this topic to death, so let's move along. Now, if we're trying to guarantee hitting the grand prize of $1 million, we can't just determine what item gives us the best cost per game piece, which is hash browns, by the way, and get all 1.2 billion stamps by buying the cheapest item. McDonald's puts the game pieces on a variety of different menu items, which means we not only have to buy different menu items, but for our purposes today, we also have to determine how many of which menu items we need to buy. The menu items in play are Filet-O-Fish sandwiches, Big Macs, 10 and 20-piece chicken McNuggets, Egg McMuffins, biscuit sandwiches, hash browns, large fries, and medium soft drinks. Now, we don't know if the game pieces are distributed evenly among those 9 menu items or not, but we can figure it out by referring to the odds detailed in the fine print from the official rules of the game. In 2014, there was 1 free parking stamp for several of the menu items, and the official rules give us the odds of hitting that individual stamp for each of them. On the Filet-O-Fish, it was 1 in 19,585,000. Fries, it was 1 in 150,254,000. So using those numbers, we can approximate how many of the 600 million game pieces allocated to each menu item, and that's how many of each we're gonna have to buy if we want to guarantee the win. Now, calculating the minimum cost of these is actually pretty simple, because your best value is gonna be buying everything a la carte rather than as part of an extra value meal. True, the extra value meals always cost less than all 3 parts bought individually, but McDonald's has cleverly made it so that only 2 of the 3 items can get you game pieces, hence the game pieces being included on medium drinks but large fries. This always infuriated me when I was playing this game religiously back in the day because I wanted pieces on all 3 of the menu items, and so I would actually supersize to get myself a large fry, but then request a smaller cup so I could get pieces on my medium drink. And because sometimes I was denied that request, I'm not going to factor it into our calculations. We're going to play this straight and fair. Each menu item individually is the optimum way to play. And with that being said, all that's left to do to calculate the cost of winning McDonald's Monopoly is to determine the price of all these items, which of course is going to vary from location to location, but I found a price aggregator that allows us to project the typical cost of these menu items. And when you combine that data with our estimations of the number of each item with game stamps that we have to buy, we get ourselves the cost of winning McDonald's Monopoly's $1 million grand prize at $1,927,340.40 for a net loss of over $1 billion. The good news is that you should theoretically be winning all of the prizes in this scenario, meaning that you'd win yourself an extra $1,110,000 in cash via the 2014 version of the game. So if you take that into consideration, hey, now you're only losing $999,817,340.40. But yeah, unless you got $1 billion that's burning a hole in your pocket. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Sorry, got something caught in my throat. The value proposition of the McDonald's Monopoly game, not so great. But wait a second, Matt Pat. You might be thinking about to interject a semi-obscure fact about the structuring of sweepstakes. Doesn't it say that there's no purchase necessary to enter? Shouldn't you technically be able to win for free? An astute observation there, hypothetical viewer. For legal reasons, McDonald's needs to keep this game a sweepstakes rather than a contest or a lottery. And a condition of sweepstakes is that it has to be possible to enter without a purchase. So absolutely request your McDonald's Monopoly game pieces by mail, but there's a catch. When you send them your self-addressed stamped envelope, everything on it has to be handwritten. No printed envelopes, no photocopies, not even return address labels. And this strategy is confirmed. A few years ago, a man named Brandon Duncombe from, of course, Florida, wrote 100 requests for McDonald's Monopoly game pieces and got returns on 98 of those letters at 4 stamps apiece. According to Duncombe, the process took him 10 hours and cost him $117. So could you scale that up to guarantee a win of the grand prize? Well, you could, but the big factor now is time. According to the official rules, these requests have to be postmarked between 2 weeks prior to the start of the contest, which lasts about 4 weeks, and the last day of the contest. At the rate that Brandon Duncombe wrote and mailed in his requests, you'd be able to send off 10,080 if you didn't stop to eat, drink, or sleep for 6 straight weeks. But since you only get 4 stamps for each return returned request, this strategy has only given you 40,320 stamps, which represents 0.003% of the total stamps in play. So we'll still have to buy all that food. And even if we assume that all of those stamps we receive by mail are taken away from the menu items that cost the most per stamp, which is the 10-piece Chicken McNugget, we've only saved ourselves $76,305.60, a drop in the bucket compared to the cool $1 billion that we're ponying up. But hey, at least we now have a bunch of McDonald's food to eat, and if my mother were watching me in this highly hypothetical scenario, she'd want to be sure that I didn't waste any food and ate every last thing that I bought. Which brings us to our other question: how many calories worth of McDonald's are we gonna have to eat? Luckily, the nutritional facts for McDonald's are even easier to find than the odds of the Monopoly game. Thanks, FDA. So all we need to do is plug in the same numbers of units purchased of each of our menu items and multiply each by its caloric load. And when we fire up the old abacus to do exactly that, we're left with the massive total of 132,416,760,000 calories, along with 6 billion grams of fat. Bear in mind, this is the bare minimum calculation. We're assuming that you're eating your fries without ketchup, that you're drinking the one true 0-calorie elixir of the gods named Diet Coke, and that you're not dipping your McNuggets in anything, which might get you fewer calories, but also might be a sign that you're a sociopath. These are just gigantic numbers, so let's put them in perspective, shall we? If you were eating the recommended 2,500 calories per day, you'd have to live for over 145,000 years in order to polish off that amount of calories. Homo sapiens, by comparison, have only been on the planet for about 200,000 years. On the other side of things, that 6.6 billion grams of fat converts to 14 million pounds. Again, for a little sense of scale, a blue whale is the largest creature that has ever existed on Earth at 80 feet long, weighing in at 180 tons at 35% body fat by mass. In order to eat the same amount of fat from our McDonald's Monopoly spoils, you'd have to eat more than 115 blue whales, which is a bad idea for a lot of reasons, not least of which is that they're an endangered species. So the long story short here is that it would require an egregious amount of food and an egregious amount of money, basically $1 billion, in order to win a measly $1 million.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? You?
Spending $1 billion to win $1 million? But you see, friends, there's a twist. The real twist of this whole thing. Come closer. Shh. Closer. Closer. It's gonna be our little secret. You could buy up every stamp on the market. You could spend that $1 million and still not win, because the winning pieces might not even be in circulation in the first place. That's right. The game was outright rigged by insiders who kept all the winning game pieces for themselves, winning almost every major prize for the better part of 12 years, walking away with $24 million worth of prizes. In short, all those calculations we just did, all those calories I consumed throughout my 20s, alongside all my fellow college students and castmates who were pooling their pieces in the hopes of winning this thing, yeah, all of it was entirely wasted. We didn't have a shot, and the numbers didn't even matter. I could have eaten every single fry, every single hash brown, fillet of fish, and large soda in existence, order every single mail-in piece they're willing to give you, and never once see Boardwalk, because it never actually made it into the game. It was grabbed off the production line and sold to a friend of a friend of a friend for a split of the winnings. That's how for over a decade, the winners were a connected network of mobsters, psychics, strip club owners, and drug traffickers. Yep, that's a not-so-happy meal for you. And why have so few people actually heard of this story? Because it was the largest story in the nation, and just as it was about to go to trial, 9/11 hit, and the story just got lost in the shuffle. Which brings us to today, where the game might still be broken. I mean, you'd think that after a huge scandal like this, McDonald's would overhaul the entire promotion in order to make it fraud-proof. Well, they didn't. Not in any sort of major way. The rules and gameplay for McDonald's Monopoly are still essentially what they've been for decades. All will be explained in a future episode of Food Theory, I promise. But for now, I'm off to play with the best thing to come out of McDonald's in the 90s, Triceratops. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. Theorists, I cannot thank you enough for all the support that you've shown this channel so far. You've been watching and subscribing like crazy, and we here at Team Theorist appreciate it big time. I know the channel's only a few weeks old, but look at those episodes that we've released already. See a thumbnail you don't recognize? Well, probably means they haven't watched it yet, so get to it. Watch the entire set. Take it from me, a man who recently obtained the entire set of 1990 dinosaur changeables. Having the full set feels real good. It's like a completionist's dream. You might even say, I'm loving it.
Food for Dog's Kitchen. Today we are making a hearty beef and russet potato dish.
So, has anyone actually ever figured out Colonel Sanders' secret recipe blend of 11 herbs and spices? Dozens upon dozens of individuals claim to have solved the world-renowned mystery, but which of them, if any, should we believe? Should we believe the Colonel's own nephew, who used to mix the spices himself when he was a child? The scientist who chemically analyzed KFC's ingredients in a laboratory? Or should we...
I'm looking for a soda to replace Diet Coke in my life. This is your opportunity, sodas of the world. Impress me. I am here to be impressed. Wow. Will you rise to the occasion, though? We'll see. Internet, welcome to Food Theory, where today it's like, it's my dream episode. If there is anything that you know about me and the Theorist channels on YouTube, it's probably the fact that we created the Sans' Nest meme, unfortunately. If there's two things that you know about us on the channel, it is that I'm the guy on YouTube who wears that red coat more often.
Yeah, that red jacket does appear a lot.
It does.
There's also Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, it's the Five Nights at Freddy's guy, that's true.
But if there's like another thing that you know, it's that Matthew loves, and when I say love, I mean like kinda borderline stock Diet Coke. So to Matthew's credit, he gave up Diet Coke for all of 2020, which we did not know would be what a year to give it up.
Yeah, and so 2021, I'm coming back with a vengeance. Hardcore.
We don't advocate drinking a lot of Diet Coke, actually. It's a little unhealthy.
I drink a lot of Diet Coke. I don't advocate it, but I drink a lot of it. So do as I say and not as I do, friends.
Today, we're going to test all